Welcome to Parkinson's, an athlete's journey. I'm Eric Von Furlick, founder of EVF Fitness and Row House, training with Parkinson's since 2020.
And I'm Todd, Paralympic rower and coach, training with Parkinson's since 2017. Together we compare notes on training, recovery, mindset, and what it takes to keep showing up. Let's get to it.
This podcast is not medical advice. Talk to your clinician before changing training, meds, or supplements.
What's going on with you? How you been?
Pretty good. Feeling good, training hard, eating well.
Nice.
Kind of checking all the boxes.
How's your heart?
Heart's been good. I was doing some zone 2, and then I realized if I tried zone 4, there's no difference in my heart rate. There's a difference in my breathing cadence.
Okay.
But the vacillation and fluctuation in my heart rate because of the AFib is just as erratic as zone 4. So I was avoiding zone 4 for the last 6 months, thinking it was problematic to go there. Now I'm going to start playing with that a little bit more so I can go zone 4 like 3 or 4 days a week.
Nice.
And get the prescribed Sparks type of training that I've been missing out on.
Yeah, that's good. That's great.
So,
I mean, that's awesome. That it's always good when after you're injured or having some sort of physical injury to be, when you're able to do something that you were able to do before.
Right. I don't know if this is going to lead me to running again or get me into a altitude room and doing concept 2 workouts the way you do, but it's heading in the right direction. So that's exciting.
Nice. That's good, man.
So what about yourself? You've been training for anything?
I mean, I've been working out a fair amount on the erg and on the bikes and whatnot, and nothing in particular. Like I was having the shoulder injury. It's nearly 100% healed. I'm able to do like push-ups again with, no pain. So I can do those pretty unlimited. I was trying to do getting back to doing pull-ups. So yesterday I was doing like negatives. I figured, okay, start with some negatives, and that was like pain-free as well. So it doesn't hurt when I row anymore on my shoulder. So like, I'm really happy about that. So that's good. That's
great news.
There's this other issue. Maybe this is a good topic to talk about. So when I first got diagnosed, one of the things I know actually before diagnosis that happened was I kept injuring my knee especially when I would run. Like, I was running a fair amount, and it would happen after I would run. And it was like my MCL kept getting strained. I could feel my left foot sort of turning out as I would run. And so all the force was, as opposed to coming down straight down my leg, it's like coming over my MCL. Just because my left foot, I don't have like the control of it. My right foot sort of tracks straight up and down, while my left foot sort of tracks out. So anyway, so I was trying to run a little bit more than I had been. I've done nothing excessive, but I've been running like with my dog a little bit and on the treadmill. And so suddenly like my knees, like my left knee, like flared up again. So I do have a strained MCL. It's like very minor. I don't know. I keep bashing my head against the wall to try to be able to run again. And every time time I do this, is like I'll run a little bit, like a couple times, a mile or two, a couple times a week, and then suddenly, like there it is, like my MCL sprained again. So I don't know.
Maybe it's time to take up cycling.
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly what I was going to say. It's like, just go back to where I was before, like, and be happy with the fact that I can row, I can cycle, I can lift.
Yeah, at least with cycling, your foot's locked in, and you don't have as much variability with running.
Yeah, I don't know if you've experienced this too. Whenever I have injuries, like because I use so many different exercise modalities, you probably experience this too. It's like I know how to work around injuries. Like, for example, I know if my knee is hurting, rowing is great for it because like my knees track pretty much straight back and forth. When they come up, so rowing is great for my knees. If I hurt my like shoulder or something like that, I'll cycle or do something else, or if I hurt my back, I can swim, and I'll know to swim and bike. Like I have all these workarounds basically.
Yeah, I'm the same way. I go to kettlebells as my go-to leg movement, that my feet are grounded and they're kind of anchored into the floor. So it's easy for me to swing a kettlebell without anything really getting out of alignment.
I mean, I'm glad I have things I can do, and I'm happy about that. The fact I can row and cycle and things, but it's a little frustrating still to not be able to do one of the things you would like to do. But I don't know. I keep bashing my head against that wall, and I don't know. Maybe I just need to let it go a little bit.
And it's not just a mobility issue.
Yeah, I would say like I can lift. When I lift, like my feet track pretty straightforward. It's just that because my left side doesn't have as much motor control. I think this is what's going on. The lack of the less motor control on my left side allows my left foot to kind of just go like this every time I step, and that and over and over. When you're walking or hiking, it's not that much extra wear and tear on the knee, but with running, it just amplifies it, I guess you'd say. So,
And that's dose dependent or dose influenced, or it doesn't really have any effect on it?
yeah, I mean, not really. I would say the medication doesn't change it. That still does that. My left foot just sort of still wants to turn out. And yeah, and then like I said, when you run, it just ratchets up the pounding and the force on the knee. So
Right. Yeah, that gets old very quickly.
yeah. So I've been biking and rowing a fair amount. So
Life goes on.
yeah.
So did you have any insights or any reflections on, we started this 2 months ago, and you have any insights that have jumped up at you?
I don't know. Let me think about that a little bit. You go here.
I think the insights is how similar the initial phases and how the people we've worked with and have spoken to have such a common story about the diagnosis and then the fears and the apprehensions and how this diagnosis comes to possibly define you in a lot of ways. And how you kind of come to terms to that and reach out and share it with your greater community, and just kind of the process that we all seem to go through. It seems to be very similar.
Yeah. Okay, I can add one thing to this. So a couple weeks ago, the Brian Grant Foundation, I think I mentioned this, who I work with, affiliated with, they have a monthly the first Monday of every month, they have a young onset Parkinson's meetup. So there's, anywhere from like 10 to 20 of us will show up at a local bar, have some food, and just talk. So point of the story, I went a couple weeks ago to the last one, and I only met him at the very end, but a guy showed up. He was probably like in his mid to late 40s. He'd just been diagnosed a couple weeks prior to that. So I had this funny feeling. So we were talking to him a little bit, he was understandably upset about his situation, but I remember thinking to myself that he was still in not the honeymoon phase, but the beginning of the after diagnosis. I look back now and can say the first couple of years, my symptoms weren't as bad as they are now. I don't know. I remember thinking, like, looking back nostalgically, I guess you would say, and saying, in retrospect, the first year or two of after diagnosis wasn't so bad. Maybe that's the way this goes, no matter what.
Yeah, you go through that denial
Yeah.
phase, and then you start assessing, and every ache and pain seems to be Parkinson's related when it was just an ache and pain pre-diagnosis.
Yeah, I think you hit on something that I thought as well, that maybe others did as well. I don't know if you experienced this, but the denial phase. So I don't know, when I first got diagnosed, the first year or so, I was still feeling really good and feeling, diminished, but not significantly diminished, I guess you would say, as far as my
Right.
mobility and my ability to row and my ability to work out hard and my ability to just live my daily life. So I don't know. I remember thinking to myself, maybe this won't be as bad as I think it is. Like, maybe the progression.
Maybe I don't have Parkinson's.
Yes, exactly. There, almost as there's like you said, denial or some sort of bargaining. So you're saying maybe it's going to be different for me.
Right.
Maybe it won't be so bad. Maybe symptoms won't advance. But now that it's been 8 years since diagnosis, like, my symptoms are clearly advanced compared to where they were when I first got diagnosed. So the reality is smacking me in the face, I guess you would say.
Yeah, but the growth and development that you've had as a person over those 8 years has to in some way compensate for the challenges that you've gone through.
Yeah. Yeah. All the like interesting adventures and experience I've had over the last 8 years would not have happened had I not got diagnosed. So
Right.
I don't know. Did you feel the same way when you first got diagnosed, as far as, I guess you would call it, denial or bargaining or thinking you might be
Yeah,
different?
I was determined to outwork it.
Yeah.
I was just like, I'm kind of built for
Yeah.
endurance, and I've gone through some couple challenges in my life, and I was like, oh, I'll just outwork it.
Mhm.
That lasted until I hurt my back, and then once I had my back injury and I couldn't work out anymore, then I kind of got run over by the reality of what I was dealing with, and quickly got a dose of what life looks like without some control. And then, your balance becomes an issue, and symptoms seem to be amplified, and everything kind of spirals out of control rather quickly if you're not managing your mindset and not being proactive in taking control of the course of your diagnosis. It quickly spirals out of control. So I kind of caution everyone to do the mindset work and kind of come to terms with it, have support, whether it's a counselor or a psychiatrist, a psychologist. And then, of course, your greater community, sharing it with your community as soon as possible to get the support that you need, so you're not lone wolfing it, is super important as well.
Yeah. I feel as though I had a little bit of the same feeling that you had when within the first year or two of diagnosis, because I remember I was training pretty hard. I was like trying to make, either trying to make the Paralympic national team or on the Paralympic national team, wherever phase this was. But I remember thinking the same thing to myself, like, I'm working out like crazy and doing a ton of high intensity workout and mobility work. Yeah, maybe I could just, like you said, outwork it. So
yeah, it is amazing though. In the time that we've been doing this podcast, it's amazing the people that we've spent time with, and how resilient they are and how strong they are and how they've managed to find purpose in their life and continue on, working with this diagnosis as well as they do. I kind of feel like I have to step my game up a little bit because, I thought I was ahead of the curve, but now that the average person is like Jimmy Choi and some of our other guests, it's inspiring.
yeah, you realize there's a larger world of people out there with Parkinson's who some of them are doing really interesting things. Like whether it's Patrick or I don't know, there's a couple other people I follow on social media who are runners and athletes who have Parkinson's as well. And yeah, so you do realize there's a group of people out there doing cool stuff.
Yeah, I think that it just becomes a weighted vest in a lot of ways that you don't get to take off, but it makes everything a little more difficult and a little more challenging. But at the end of the day, it could be far worse, and uh, not to diminish it, but just to keep it in perspective of what we're dealing with. It progresses, but it progresses relatively slowly for most of us, and we can kind of counterbalance that with a lot of lifestyle changes and inputs. Certainly, having a philosophy and a psychology that works to give you some control is meaningful. At least for me, it's made a huge impact.
Yeah, I was thinking about how open people are to discussing about their experience with diagnosis and how they deal with it on a day-to-day basis. So it's been impressive to see people open up about their experience, and it's helpful. It gives you, like you, some insight as well that other people do struggle either mentally or physically with this. So
yeah, there's a huge emotional component that I think has a tendency to get overlooked because the tremors, the dyskinesia, the bradykinesia are the symptoms that get the majority of the attention, but the emotional weight is every bit as challenging as the physical. If this episode helped, share it with a coach, an athlete, or someone who needs a little momentum.
And if you have a topic you want us to tackle, send it in. We'd love to hear from you.
Thanks for listening. Catch you on the next one.